The sky literally rained fire, not figuratively. The smell of sulfur choked their breath, and the sound of giant stones crashing against the walls made the earth tremble as if an earthquake were striking the center of the universe. In that moment, there was no distinction between general and soldier, emperor and slave. Everyone was drowning in a sea of blood and severed body parts. A human head flew through the air, striking a church bell, its brass clang echoing amidst the screams of mothers. Hell was not beneath the earth that day. Hell was here, on the walls of the city said to be protected by God himself. Welcome, my friends, to the Conquerors of the Universe channel. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Let's dive into the story. Pay close attention, because there's one small detail that might change your entire perspective on life. The story begins weeks before this bloody scene, in a luxurious silk tent, redolent with the scents of musk and gunpowder. A young man, not yet 21 years old, sat there, his eyes burning with ambition, an ancient map of Constantinople spread before him. This young man was Mehmed II, the Sultan who swore to fulfill the prophet's prophecy or die beneath the walls of that stubborn city. Constantinople had been a thorn in the side of the Islamic world for centuries, an impossible obstacle for anyone who dared approach it. 23 armies tried and 23 armies failed. The city's legendary triple walls were a graveyard for invaders. But Mehmed was unlike any other. He was obsessed. He spent his nights sketching cannon designs, studying the movement of the stars, and memorizing every inch of the land's topography. Meanwhile, on the other side of the walls, a man knew his end was approaching, Emperor Constantine XI, a man who inherited a dying empire, its coffers empty, its army exhausted, and its populace religiously divided. From his palace balcony, he gazed at the horizon, seeing the endless torches of the Ottoman army as if the stars themselves had descended to besiege him. The siege began with a sound humanity had never heard before. Urban, the Hungarian engineer, had crafted a metal beast for Mehmed, the giant Basilica cannon. It was 27 feet long and required 60 oxen to drag. Imagine the scene. When this cannon was fired for the first time, it was said that pregnant women in the city miscarried from the sheer force of the sound, and the walls of homes miles away cracked. The 600-pound stone projectile launched to strike the wall, causing the tower to collapse as if it were made of sand. Dust obscured the sun, and day turned into pitch-black night. But the story isn't merely one of stones and cannons. It's a testament to extraordinary human will. The Byzantines, led by the brave Genoese mercenary Giovanni Giustiniani, repaired the walls at night. What the Ottomans destroyed by day, the defenders rebuilt by night, literally mixing mud with the blood of the dead and animal bones, filling the gaps with their very bodies. Hunger began to gnaw at their stomachs. Bread ran out, and people resorted to eating boiled hides, cats, and rats. Nevertheless, Constantine refused to surrender. He declared to Mehmed in a message, "To surrender the city is neither my right nor that of any of its inhabitants. We have all resolved to die rather than save our lives." Then came the moment that made the impossible possible, the colossal iron chain. The Byzantines had sealed off the entrance to the Golden Horn harbor with a massive chain, preventing Ottoman ships from entering and threatening the weaker sea-facing walls. Mehmed stood before the sea, seemingly helpless, or so everyone thought. But genius is born from the crucible of despair. Mehmed ordered the portage of ships over land. Yes, you read that correctly.
He ordered his soldiers to clear a path through the hills and forests behind the Galata colony and to grease wooden planks with animal fat and olive oil. In a single night, under the cover of darkness, while cannons bombarded to mask the noise, thousands of soldiers and oxen dragged 70 warships over the mountain. Imagine the surreal scene, ships seemingly sailing over grass and between trees. When the people of Constantinople awoke in the morning, they found the Ottoman fleet inside the harbor, behind the chain. It was a psychological shock that utterly shattered their morale. This young man had accomplished what no devil could conceive. Nevertheless, the city held out. Weeks passed and corpses filled the moat, the stench of death so overwhelming that soldiers tied vinegar-soaked cloths over their faces to breathe. The War of Tunnels began. The Ottomans dug underground to undermine the walls, and the Byzantines dug counter-tunnels to meet and kill them beneath the earth. Imagine the horror. fighting in pitch blackness in a cramped tunnel, hearing nothing but your opponent's ragged breath and the rending sound of knives tearing flesh, with the ceiling threatening to collapse at any moment. They burned each other with liquid fire underground. Then came the omens. On a moonlit night, a total lunar eclipse occurred. The moon transformed into a blood-red disk. The Byzantines recalled an ancient prophecy. The city would not fall until the moon vanished, and now it had vanished. Then the following day, an unusually thick fog descended in May, transforming the city into a ghost town. During a religious procession intended to boost morale, an icon of the Virgin Mary fell from its litter and shattered in the mud. Priests cried out and people wept in the streets. God had abandoned Constantinople. We now arrive at May 28th, the final night. The silence was heavier than mountains. In the Ottoman camp, Sultan Mehmed ordered fires to be lit, accompanied by shouts of triumph and cries of Allahu Akbar. A sea of torches turned night into day, and the sounds of drums and prayers instilled terror in the hearts of the besieged. Inside the city, the last communal prayer was held in the Hagia Sophia. Orthodox and Catholics who had previously despised each other gathered and prayed side by side. Emperor Constantine stood before them, removed his royal cloak, and asked for forgiveness from everyone he had wronged. Men wept like women, embracing in a final farewell. They knew that the sun rising tomorrow would be the last for many of them. Dawn on Tuesday, May 29th, 1453. The apocalypse began. The first wave of irregular forces, the Bashibazouks, attacked to exhaust the defenders. Then came the second wave, the Anatolian forces. The defenders fought with the ferocity of wounded beasts. The blood made the ladders so slick that soldiers slipped and fell to their deaths. Then Mehmed unleashed his elite forces, the Janissaries. They advanced with terrifying regularity, silent, speaking not a word, their footsteps and eerie war music the only sounds. As the fighting intensified, a small detail emerged that would change the course of history. A small secret side gate called the Kerkoporta was mistakenly left ajar by a Byzantine soldier after a night raid, or perhaps he simply forgot to secure it tightly. A group of Ottoman soldiers noticed it. They infiltrated through it and raised the Ottoman flag on one of the towers. At the same moment, the brave commander Giustiniani was struck by a bullet or arrow that pierced his armor. His soldiers carried him away, bleeding profusely. When the defenders saw their commander withdrawing and the Ottoman flag waving above them, everything collapsed. The cry, "The city has fallen," echoed like thunder. Emperor Constantine, realizing the end was near, did not flee.
He tore off his imperial purple insignia so that no one would recognize him, drew his sword, and uttered his last words. "Is there no Christian here to take my head?" Then he charged alone into a deluge of Janissaries. The emperor vanished, his body never to be found. He became a legend, the marble emperor who would one day awaken. The army stormed the city. The scenes were too brutal for words to describe. The streets turned into rivers of blood. People sought refuge in the Hagia Sophia, closing the bronze doors and praying. But axes shattered them. History paused here. The Middle Ages ended, and the modern era began. Constantinople became Istanbul. Sultan Mehmed entered the city that afternoon. He was young, but his face carried the weight of centuries. He proceeded directly to the Hagia Sophia. He dismounted from his horse, prostrated himself on the ground in gratitude to God, then took a handful of dust and placed it upon his turban as a sign of humility, acknowledging that greatness belonged to God alone. He gazed at the magnificent halls and mosaics, recalling a Persian verse. The spider weaves its web in the palace of Khosrau, and the owl plays the role of sentinel in the castle of Afrasiab. And you, if you were in his shoes, what would you have done? Would you have possessed the audacity to transport ships over mountains, or would you have chosen to die honorably like Constantine? And with that, we've reached the end of this story, but stories never truly end here. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next story. Farewell.